All right, so we're currently sitting down in my photo area in my Etsy room. This is where I have my lamp set up right here, 3 light system, and I forget what kind of bulbs they are. If I can look it up, I'll write it down below in the video and in the description. But I use particular lights so that the white is a certain color. Some lights are bluer than others, and some are too blue, and some are too yellow. So I've worked hard on trying to find efficient lighting that doesn't heat up as well. So I think these are LED, but I need to double check that. So this is the area where items come in. There's the front door to the Etsy room. We're in the basement right now in my Etsy room. And I've showed this before, this particular room. There's a tour video of this room way far back in my videos. If you just search Etsy room tour on my channel, you'll find it. But this is the table that I put things that have already been washed and the labels have been removed and they're ready to be listed, photographed and listed. So this is where they go. Currently though, there are some things that have been sitting on this table for a very long time. It just so happens that, you know, I sit down, I start pulling things to photograph, and I just inherently grab things that I'm more attracted to first, things that I'm more excited to list, and that has its downfall sometimes. So I'd like to get going with these toothpick holders. They've been sitting here for a very long time, but on their own, they're not the most exciting thing. They're kind of repetitive, and there's not as many as it looks. I'm going to try to group some of these together of like pattern. So it won't be that daunting, but it's just one of those things that's been kind of haunting me. And then we have some glasses here I'd like to get out of the way. So I'd really like right now to do these and some of these larger items to help open this table up, because I do have a whole tote full of things that need to get put on this table. And so upstairs, after I do my haul videos, I wash the items if they need to be washed, wipe them off, put them in a clear plastic tote, and then I bring that tote down when it's kind of like half full. And so yeah, it's half full. It's over half full, and I need to put stuff in here and get this stuff kind of moved out. So I'm going to go ahead and do the first step in the listing, photographing part of it. And what I do is I go ahead and I measure the items that I'm going to work with. So I'm gonna actually do that, and then I'll explain the next step when I'm done. So this paper will be filled up a little bit in just a minute. All right, so everything is now measured, and here are some of the items over here, and then the rest of them are still here on this table. So I have a Pyrex piece right here, and I've got some Salem glasses, those plates, those items on here will also be photographed. So now the next step is I've got my lights on, and I'm going to do one more thing that I think really helps the color and the vibrancy of my photos is actually turn the lights off. So we've got these lights in here that are their own color temperature, and it's more of a warmer light. It's not as bright and white as that. You might be able to tell that's a little bit yellower. It's easier to see in person. So I'm going to go ahead and shut these lights off so there's not conflicting light hues coming through the picture. All right, so I am currently on my phone right now. This is where I take my photos for Etsy, and I'm going to go ahead and rotate this around. I take all my photos in landscape mode, which is this way, horizontally, and I've got my first set of items already here on screen that you can see. So we have the set here, and actually there is one label so I know who made them, Inesco, which is pretty interesting. So that'll help with identification. So I'll be sure to include that in my photo. Currently I'm in an app called Open Camera. This is not the built-in camera app on this phone. I downloaded this from the Google Play Store. I don't know if there's a Apple version of this for an iPhone, but with this particular camera app, I'm able to independently control the exposure and the focus area. So by focus, I mean if I tap my phone screen like that, I can choose to focus on a specific area anywhere I tap. But as you see, the color around it, this white, is adjusting. It's increasing the exposure rate to match where I want it to focus. So that's not good. So what I do is up here in the top here, there's a little padlock right up Can we see? Oh, right up here where my finger is, there's a little padlock. So I'm gonna go ahead and set the exposure that I want for all my photos, which I can do by just tapping around a little bit until I get a nice white balance that I like. That's too bright. Oh, let's say there. Tap the padlock. Exposure is now locked. That means I can tap, tap, tap all I want, and it will not change my color. But what this is doing is choosing the focus area. So if I choose it to focus there, as opposed to here, the rest of the photo will be blurry. Although this is a really good camera, so it tends to be pretty sharp all the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking my photos now. I'm in landscape mode. I don't want to do any other editing beyond this, so I'm making sure my photos look good out of the gate. So I take one photo there, I come in close. Sometimes colors, even though this is all, see, look how, hard to explain, but see how the color shifts? It's really white right now. I zoom in and it goes kind of golden. That's because the camera is picking up on these tones and wanting to readjust the color temperature. So there's ways around that, but I just kind of have to mess with it until I get it to work. But the idea is to get different shots of the item. Helps to get for size, one like that. And then I need the logo here on the bottom. That's really important. Okay, so we've got that. And then I also like to scoot, when I have multiples of something, I like to scoot them all off to the side, have one by itself, and do one of these kind of a shots. Helps the focus, not for the camera necessarily, it helps the focus for the person so that they can see the details in this, so that it's, you know, if it's up against another thing, it's kind of hard to see through it sometimes. That's my take on it. So I have enough photos, really. I mean, you kind of get the idea of what this is. And I'll go ahead and move these off to the side and put the next item up. So I'm going to continue to do this, going through my list. I've got about 15 items here. That's how I like to do it, in sets of like 15 to 20. And I'm going to get through photographing all of these, and then I will be ready for the next step. All right, I'm setting down now, about to create the drafts, and I still do that on my phone, so it's very simple. The photos are on my phone, and I'm going to create the drafts on the phone. So I'll be doing that with the Etsy app. So I've got my items here. I'll be listing these in order, and I know exactly what's coming up, so I can create the drafts very easily, just going right down from the list. And then once I have that done, then I'll put them on, I'll get on the computer, the netbook there, and I will make the full listings. But we have Stella here too. She made the video. There she is, keeping guard. All right, next step. All right, so I'm currently in the Sell on Etsy app, and I'm just creating drafts. That's all I'm doing right now. I'm not making the full live listings. I don't do that from my phone because it would take way too long to type everything with just my thumbs. So I do as little as I have to on the phone. I'm going to go ahead and click another company or person made it. That's true with everything I sell. It's all vintage. It's a finished product. And in this case, I am now on the Red and Clear Imperial Glass Salt and Pepper Shakers. So I am going to select that they were probably made in the 60s. I can verify that later, but that's my gut feeling. We'll find out of how accurate I am. And then we select Home and Living, Kitchen and Dining, Dining and Serving, Salt and Pepper Shakers. Sort of a drawn out way to do it, but there it is. Now on the desktop version of this, you can just type in what it is and it'll automatically give you suggestions. I wish I could skip this part of it. That is choosing what category it goes into and just worrying about that later, but they make you choose a category. So there it is. All right, we're on our third item right now. I already did a couple other drafts. This is the third listing, so I'm going to go ahead and scroll down my list here. Here we are. And these are the items that I have to list. So I'm holding down and selecting those and clicking open. There they are. Now I just have to create the order in which I want them to be shown. I like these two because they're very symmetrical looking. And then we'll go, this one needs to be last. and I think we're about good. So I'll click save, and while those are uploading, I can just put in some gibberish in here. Doesn't matter. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of there. Anyway, these have already uploaded, and all I have to do now is click save. Oh, no, I don't. I forgot one thing. I got on a tangent. I have to set the price. I'll set it for $1 so that it reminds me later on to actually look up the price. Whenever I first did this originally, and I was selling things, and after I kind of got into a stride, I started just going off of what I felt, and that's never what you should do. So an example would be I would go to list these particular salt and pepper shakers and say, well, I think they're worth $15 plus shipping. So then I would say $20. Well, that can work fine for you, but it could also be a really bad thing if these happen to be rare, really desirable. So I don't do that anymore. I don't assume unless I absolutely know and it's something I sell all the time. So I put $1 in so that I have to check it and set it. So a little tip there. All right, now I can click save and click save as draft. So as you can see, that's an easy way to do it so that you don't have to sit there and fiddle with it too much and have to type everything in there with just a couple fingers. That would get very tedious. So I'm going to be quiet and I'm just going to go through this real quick and show you how it would actually go if I wasn't sitting here talking. Oh. So if I get done too fast typing the stuff and the images are not uploaded, it will give me that warning. So you just have to kind of wait until they've actually got around to uploading the photos. It only takes a few more seconds. 3, 2, 1, I think now's a good time. There we go, save as draft. So I go through that same process for each of these items that I do. They're just drafts, they're nonsensical, there's no point to them. And then I'll show you in the next step how I actually go about finishing the listings. All right, so we're currently on the Etsy website, etsy.com, on my desktop. I normally do this step on my Chromebook, but because I'm recording the screen at the same time, I have to use my desktop, which is a little bit more powerful to say the least. So the first thing I like to do is pretty much decide what item I want to start with. And an easy trick that I do is list in groups of 5. So I don't just list one thing at a time. I really push myself to list 5 things if I'm going to list anything at all. So what I do is I choose 5 items that are very similar to each other. We're going to start with these plates. They've been calling to me, so I want to go ahead and start with them. And these here also match, so we're going to do both sets of glasses, and then these cups here and this Pyrex. So that's what I'm going to do. I won't show you all of that. I'm going to start with the plates though. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the plates, and there's all my photos. And then we'll start right up here with the title, which already has my placeholder text that I'm just going to delete. And we're going to type in VTG. By the way, VTG stands for vintage, and I don't spell out the word vintage anymore because if you're viewing my listing on mobile and you're searching for something, say you're searching for these plates on Etsy's mobile version, what will happen is the word vintage will take up way too much space of the characters that you're given. So it may only come across as vintage MAP or something like that. So at least this way I'm not wasting my characters. So I'm going to type vintage maple leaf by Salem. And I think these are, I don't know if they're dinner plates or not. So let me check my notes here. They are 9 1/4 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and look up real quick on another listing, Salem maple leaf plates, and find out what 9 1/4 inch size is. Try these here. Bread and butter plates. These are 6 inches round, so it's not a bread and butter plate. Here's a dinner plate listing. Measures 10 inches. Whoops. Oh, are these just opening more? These are just opening a whole bunch of things I don't need. Let's try lunch plate. Whoa, I spelled lunch completely wrong. Okay. Oh. There we go. Oh, no results. Okay, so one more thing I like to do is we can just go replacements.com Salem maple leaf plate. And here we are on replacements. It's measuring 7 1/4 inch. Let's go to maple leaf pattern. Salad plate 7. Okay, so salad plate is 7 1/4. Luncheon plate 9 1/8. Okay, mine was 9 1/4, so I'm going to call it a luncheon plate. I might have just been my ruler. So, oh yeah, luncheon plate, set of 4. It's oven proof. It's hard to talk and type at the same time whenever I'm saying slightly different things. Okay, oven proof, and they're green and brown. Hey now. Green and brown leaves. I swear I don't type this bad usually. Okay, green and brown leaves. Good enough for me. I'm going to go ahead and copy this title. Hello? There we are. And let's double check when it was made. Doesn't say here. Is there another listing we can pull it from? Let's go here. From the 50s. This is not the same plate though. Has some ridges on it. Go with this one. Doesn't say, just says vintage. That does not help. Do this one. 50s. Okay, these are a lot older than I figured. So I actually don't know if they're really from the 50s or not. I'm gonna guess the 60s. That's what I put. Maybe I'll just put 50s like everybody else though. Okay, ceramic, primary color white. I do fill these out, by the way. I don't know if everybody does, but I like to. Occasion, I always click birthday. That's it. So first line on my description is just I paste, and that reiterates my title. In the eyes of Etsy, what that does is it creates consistency in what you're writing. So whenever somebody searches Salem plate, for instance, it's going to want to pull up the listing that has Salem plate written the most times in separate areas. So it's going to be written here, it's going to be written here, and then whenever I come down to do my tags, it's going to be written there too. So it's going to be in all 3 places. So in the eyes of Etsy, they're going to say, oh, this is probably exactly what you're looking for because this listing has it written everywhere. So that's my thinking on that. So I just simply copy and paste the listing title right into the description. Okay, so next I write up something along the lines of very nice or very good, lovely, wonderful. Started out with a compliment. Very nice set of 4 plates by Salem. I just need to stop talking and type this. What else would I want to say? Basically, the glaze is very clean and shiny. Okay, and then I also put in the dimensions. I do that for everything. I always put in dimensions. I think a lot of people on eBay do not do that. Quite a lot of them, and actually some people on Etsy don't do it either. But I see it 2 ways. I see it as it minimizes the amount of resistance in a listing, meaning the customer is less likely to hem and haw about it, like, oh, I wonder if this is the right size. Well, I don't know. And a lot of people won't even take the initiative to message And the second thing is, why create an extra hurdle for people to message me? That does two things. It makes it where I have to physically go measure the item, and that could be really difficult. And plus, again, it makes another hurdle for the customer. So I always measure. It's not hard to do. Measures 9. My measurements was 9 1/4, so I'm just going to type 9 1/4. It's really not that different from 9 1/8. I think that's what the other one said. Measures 9 1/8, round, obviously. All right, that's all I write, because that's all that you need to write. And then I go 2 inches down, and actually I forgot to bring this up, but I have a docs.google page that I always use. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this one. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this here. It's a standard template that I use whenever I'm filling out my listing, so I go ahead and paste that in. It basically is a guarantee, and it talks about the shipping and all of that. And now I choose the section, which is be glassware and dining. And then for tags, I just go to town, fill out all. I pretty much fill out all 13 if I can, which is 95% of the time. So I'm just going to type in here Salem plates, Salem maple leaf, green leaves, green, brown. That's another tip. If you put a dash in between two items, supposedly I heard this, it allows the words that you use in that string to be searched in any order. So green, brown, probably not the best case, but if I was to type in Salem maple leaf, then someone could literally search maple Salem leaf or maple leaf Salem, and it would theoretically still pull my listing up. So 8 to go. Oh. What else do we have to say about this? Whoops. Oh, I used them all. Okay. All right. So that's good. Now for the price. Let's do a little quick comparison here. These are lunch plates, which I'm still not really that sure of because, okay. All right. So a dinner plate is $8 plus shipping, and the shipping is like $8. That sounds good to me. $36. Okay. 4 to 5 pounds. No, let's just do 40. $10 a plate with free shipping. Yeah, let's do it. I'm just going to go ahead and click publish because we're done. And click publish again. And we're good to go. So that's the first item in my 5 that I'm mandating myself to do. We're going to go ahead and click on this next one.